and a consulting company. We help folks with managing their resources, and then we do the podcast to show different ways to engage in communication and connection to build culture effectively. That's the goal. If you listen to it and you think we did something different, you should let us know. So today I wanted to talk about a quote that is about recognizing the difference between circumstances that we have to live into and things that we can actually change. So the quote is, "We cannot direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails." And it's a kind of making that distinction between the things we just have to accept, right? Like the wind is the wind, it's doing it, nobody's in charge of it, it's just there, and you have to accept that the wind is there. And if you are in a sailboat and you're trying to get somewhere, then what you have to do is figure out how to adjust your sails. So pretty pretty straightforward. But especially this one seems especially valuable to me. Interestingly, it was published in January 30th, 2020, when I was doing this project right before the pandemic kind of descended in a big way in our country. And it was a great one to go back to and to recognize, there's a lot going on that we just aren't able to accept or aren't able to change. Many of us were stuck in situations like being in a lockdown where we couldn't go to work, we couldn't see family for different reasons, and it was a very disorienting time. And there were ways in which I think it was bonding, and we came together in a lot of situations. And then obviously there was a lot of division. And this particular piece of wisdom that I wanted to share is just one of the things that I really appreciated about it is it's a great reminder that we are always powerless in the face of something. Like, we're just not always aware of it. And I know that may not sound hopeful in the way that it can, but it's that recognition that our power may not be with regards to the thing that we are most affected by or most disturbed by. For example, the pandemic, or in this case, the wind. And learning to notice the distinction between where we do have the ability to affect things and where we don't, in order to put our energy into that which is going to have the most possibility of achieving some form of result. So in some ways, it's an efficiency model. And so the big caveat here too is there are some things that are really big that need to be changed that people accept it. Oh, this is just a circumstance, right? Like we have institutional isms that are much larger than any one person. And so I always like to make a really clear distinction between that and individual effort, partially because I meet a lot of people who take it on, right? Like, oh, I'm supposed to solve this. Or if I were X, Y, or Z enough, this would be changed. And one of the things, and it's not about giving up, and it's not about saying like, I'm not going to do my part. It is about, however, recognizing what's real. And what's real is that I, by myself, am not going to end racism or sexism. I simply, it's too big. It's our whole country. And that doesn't mean I give up. It doesn't mean I say I'm not going to do anything. And I don't beat myself up when things aren't changing, because it's going to take time, and it's going to take, I think, in a lot of ways, one person at a time learning, and then enough of us learn and understand that the impacts of some of these assumptions that we make about how the world is, and there are assumptions we don't necessarily even know we've made. I think that's the challenge, right? Like if I'm outside in the wind and I kind of know that I can't do anything about it, in that I can't stop it, but maybe I also know I could go inside, right, and not be affected by it. And so that's the step that I'm talking about here in terms of even those institutional things that we want to see be different. Maybe looking at them from this perspective of noticing what is it that I want to change, and then determine, can that be changed? Is that thing, and specifically, can that be changed by me as well? And so that's another important step, because like I said, a lot of times we see problems that are very big, and we want, because we care, we want to participate or make a difference. And the real important things are a day by day kind of small bite scenario. And I think we're recalling that and committing ourselves to those small efforts will add up. It's sort of the whole, like, if you want to learn Chinese, learn it, go grab Duolingo, and you're not going to speak Chinese tomorrow. You're going to spend a little time every day learning words and practicing. And in a year or two, you're going to see that you have built some skills. And that's how a lot of things in life that need our attention kind of go. Like the small daily effort will add up. So the first step is to notice, what do I want to change? Determine if it can be changed, or if it can be changed by you. And then also, if it can't be changed, like you don't see your ability to affect it or to take that, what action you could take, step back a little bit and say, well, why do I want to change it? What is it about this thing that I see as needing to be affected? What is a goal or an outcome I desire? And that adjustment, actually, I found to be very helpful in life, and my business, and parenting, actually, as well. When my kids were little and they would behave in a way that I didn't like, obviously controlling another person is very, difficult, and honestly, to me, a little repugnant. However, negotiating, around, I want a different behavior in my space, sort of human. So you have to do that with your kids as well. And recognizing that sometimes the goal I had, right, was conflicting. Like maybe I wanted quiet because I wanted to read or something. And my kids were, maybe they'd been penned up all day and they needed something to do to kind of let out their energy. And so there's that too, like recognizing, what is the goal? And is my goal to squish them so I can read? Maybe I could put earphones in, or, earplugs in. Like there's ways to achieve your goals that may or may not be about your first solution. Because a lot of times our first solution is our most obvious solution. And that's great. And sometimes it's the right one. And sometimes what we need to do is come up with a couple more solutions. There's this great National Geographic video, which maybe I could find, that really talked about that from a photographer's perspective. He said, he never accepts his first shot, because he knows that while it might be good or even great, that oftentimes if he gives himself a little time with a shot that he's trying to get, he'll get to something that's even more powerful as he comes to kind of connect to the material and to his own perspective. And so I think that's really great advice in life as well. Like when you are seeking to make an impact or achieve a goal, recognizing that your first solution is perfectly acceptable and may be where you land. And it's okay to step back and say, what are my other options? So going through what are your goals, and is there a way to get to that goal without having to deal with this larger issue? And what are the methods by which you can achieve that goal or that outcome? So in the example of maybe my kids want to run around and I want to read a book and I need quiet, I could put in earplugs, and then everybody gets to do what they want. I mean, there are also other options, but that was a potential solution that wasn't about trying to make them squish, right? And that would be the adjusting your sails, saying, okay, there's another way to do this that isn't about trying to control something that I don't want to or can't, like the wind or the weather. So the challenge this week for Be the Change is to take a moment to pause when you are feeling a sense of powerlessness. Like you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or shut down and in a situation, and just pause for a second and say, all right, it is what I am dealing with, this thing that I want to affect. Is it something that can be changed, or am I sort of railing against fate? And if it's something that can be changed by you, then it should you, is that a good choice? And if it can't be changed or changed by you, why? What is your purpose in wanting to? What is the goal or outcome you desire? Can you achieve that goal or outcome by other methods? And and if so, then adjust your sails to get to where you want to go with the wind that you have at your back. Um, and it's not it's not about giving up. It's really about recognizing that we do all have power and influence in our lives in different ways, and we all feel powerless at moments. And there are some things that we are very powerless against. And it's so helpful to identify where and how we do have power so that we can take actions to move us towards a life we want or a circumstance that we will find more fulfilling. And it's actually a good one for me to remember, because when life is chaotic and hard, I often will need to remember that I can only affect certain things, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I hope that you have a wonderful day and a great week.